Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Dark News. My name is Christoph Atlas, the host of Dark News. Today is August the 12th of 2014, and we'll be going over the latest prices for cryptocurrencies and privacy-centric cryptocurrencies, gold, silver, ammo, all that kind of stuff. We'll be talking a little bit about Xcurrency, which is a privacy-centric cryptocurrency, and also talking about a new proposal in the Bitcoin space for cryptocurrency privacy as well. If you have any questions that you'd like to have answered towards the end of the show, I'll try to keep this show relatively short today because I'm pressed for time, but I will field your questions if you're interested. You can submit those through the Google Hangout link if you're watching this through YouTube or Google Hangout. And also, you can hit me up on Twitter at Dark News Show on Twitter or hashtag Dark News. Of course, all of the show is completely viewer funded, so if you enjoy the show, feel free to hit us up with some tips. Here's some QR codes that I've thrown up here on the screen. We accept Bitcoin, Darkcoin, Dogecoin, and we have a Patreon account as well in which you can spend your dirty fiat money on a monthly basis to support the show. So let's start things off by looking at the latest dark market prices. Here are the prices for August 12th. So gold and silver both gained a little bit this past week relative to the dollar. But it was a pretty bad week in general for altcoins. Altcoins are down today, and Bitcoin has been in a little bit of a slump. We'll talk about perhaps why that might be in just a moment. The dollar gained about 3% relative to the dollar. Darkcoin unchanged in terms of its dollar market cap in the last week. It actually gained one spot in the market cap rankings at number 5 now, just edging out Purecoin. And a non-coin slipped to number 49. The dollar gained 31% relative to a non-coin. Fedora coin also lost about 10%, sitting at number 129 in those rankings. A slightly down week for Monero and an even more down week for Bitcoin, the two crypto note currencies that we track on the show. Bitcoin is now sitting at number 25 and Monero sitting at number 12. Bitcoin lost about 24% or so relative to the dollar, and Monero just down about 2%. Now, Cloakcoin was up quite a bit last week, but it's down quite a bit in the past week since then. The dollar gained 145% relative to Cloakcoin. We'll take a look at the chart for the last week in just a moment, but it's quite a substantial downturn for Cloakcoin. It was at number 12 last week, and today it's at number 21. We've also added a new cryptocurrency to these trackings, these price trackers. Xcurrency, formerly known as X11 coin. It's currently sitting at number 14, a respectable position, I would say, somewhere in the range of between $1 and $5 million in market cap, I would guess, probably closer to 2. And for ammo, the dollar lost 42% relative to 22 LR ammo. It's on sale briefly. And additionally, a slight sale for 9mm and Luger, just a little bit more cheap this past week. So overall, for all of the precious metals and cryptocurrencies that we're tracking on the show, there was a 1.41% increase in just the last week. So why has the Bitcoin price been down in the dumps? Well, there's been some significant new merchant adoption, but it seems like it might be outstripping the user adoption, the number of people that are buying Bitcoins. And so if you have merchants that are accepting Bitcoin, immediately exchanging that for dollars, that's going to put downward pressure on the price. And we haven't necessarily seen more users buying up Bitcoin to match that price. So it's been down just a little bit in the last couple weeks. Now, Mandrick from Blockchain also mentioned that in his experience in the last few years, the Bitcoin price has historically been down during the summer months. It's been a bit of a a temperate pace during the summer months. And if we look back at 2013 on this chart, we can see that the price started well below $100 at the beginning of the year, ended around $700 something going into 2014, and indeed the price was quite stagnant during these summer months of June, July, and August, and the price didn't really pick up until, let's say, November, perhaps October. But if we take a look at the 2012 charts, this is not true. So in June of 2012, the price was right around $5 or so, Bitstamp price, and by mid-August it was already up to about $15, and then there was a downward trend down towards $8. That was still significantly above the $5 mark starting the summer. So I wouldn't say that this is a clear record of a summer slump in the Bitcoin price. Perhaps this is a new trend. Maybe this is something that will happen in the future for Bitcoin. It has historically generally been the case for precious metals like gold and silver, a bit of a slow time with gold and silver during the summer months. And so it is possible that we'll see something similar with Bitcoin in the future as it gets closer and closer to the levels of gold and silver in terms of the overall market cap and maturity amongst traders. So as we mentioned, Cloak was down quite a bit in the last week. If you look at the 1 month chart for Cloakcoin in Bitcoin prices, started out the month in mid-July, somewhere around 0.001 Bitcoins per Cloakcoin, peaked at the beginning of August and the end of July right around 0.003, so it increased about threefold. And now it's been in a bit of a slump since then, some waves up and down, but it does seem to be a gradual downturn since then. And just in the last week, we are back down, right down to that 0.001 Bitcoin per Cloakcoin price level. So if you're looking to buy into Cloakcoin, if you think that it has a good long-term prognosis, right around now might be a good time to buy in. It seems to be relatively cheap relative to how it's been performing in the last couple weeks. If we look at some of the top altcoins below Litecoin, even Litecoin is down substantially. It's actually below the $200,000 market cap level as of today. But if we look at all of the cryptocurrencies below Litecoin, Ripple has reclaimed third place, going down a little bit less than Next has in the past week. Darkcoin reclaimed that number 5 spot from Purecoin, also going down a little bit less than Purecoin has in the last week. And if we look at the logarithmic chart, we can see the relative movements of the coins a little bit better. So as we said, Ripple fairly sideways, Next down a bit in the last week. Purecoin down substantially. BitShares acts mostly sideways but down a little bit. Dogecoin continues its downward trend. What else? Namecoin down a little bit. MadeSafe is one of the few cryptocurrencies to actually, their coin has gone up in price in the past week, one of the few. A little bit of a boost for BitShares PTS. And Xcurrency is down a little bit as well. Now, as I was going over some of these historical prices for Bitcoin, I was also looking at the historical price for gold. And if you're a gold investor in the last couple of years, you probably remember this very unfortunate, painful year of 2013, starting at $1,700 at the beginning of 2013, all the way down to $1,200 by the end of the year. That was a tough year for precious metal investors, to say the least. So let's talk about Xcurrency. We just added Xcurrency to our price tracking. So Xcurrency appears to be a proof of stake coin, and says here that the total supply of Xcurrencies increases by 3.33%. So it's an inflationary coin, but a relatively modest amount of inflation per year. and that appears to be a pretty much fixed rate year over year. And so there's no new mining of coins through proof of work. Instead, you run your XC application, and you have to have some coins online. Presumably, they might be somewhat prone to theft during that period. And one would also wonder whether exchanges who would hope to stake the deposits on their exchange would also be somewhat prone to theft, similar to the Vericoin thefts that took place a couple weeks ago. But nonetheless, so there's a staking mechanism. You got to keep your coins online, although apparently you only have to do it. You only have to keep your coins online, or you put your client online once every 15 days. That's long enough to accrue the interest that takes place. So that's interesting. Now, the other couple things that Xcurrency boasts about. So they recently released this encrypted chat mechanism, which they unfortunately named XChat, which is also the name of a very popular IRC chat client. So you may have a tough time Googling for XChat, but so that's something that they released recently. But their kind of main claim to fame, I guess you would say, is their privacy mechanism. And we won't go too far into the details of this, but just basically speaking, the way that they accomplish this is they have two networks running in parallel. One is your standard cryptocurrency blockchain verification kind of network, people running the XC application and staking their coins and verifying transactions and all that good stuff. And then parallel to that, they also have another network called their anonymous Xcurrency network, which is composed of what they would call Xcurrency nodes. And these nodes are providing the privacy mechanism for Xcurrency. And so just generally speaking, what I'm understanding from this is that the privacy mechanism seems to happen through off-chain transactions. So in other words, there's some accounting that's going on off of the Xcurrency blockchain in this separate network, and they do something to verify the integrity of this network, cryptographically speaking, so that people are not stealing coins and so forth. Anyone can run an Xcurrency node. It doesn't require you to keep any coins online or to own any coins, as far as I understand it. So it's different from dark coin master nodes in that sense. And so this is a way of them providing some kind of privacy mechanism that anyone can participate in. So it's relatively decentralized, but they're not doing it on the blockchain. Whereas something like Darkcoin, they have a coin join based approach where they are trying to obfuscate the path of coins actually on the blockchain. So this is a different approach. I think it's interesting. I'm not sure what I think about this idea of kind of moving things off of the blockchain. The whole point of the blockchain is that it's supposed to be this record of the movement of coins, and so very much curious whether they are able to maintain the integrity of the movement of coins without actually using the blockchain technology. They have this separate network that's running in parallel, and curious to see how that goes. I haven't seen any other coins scrambling to copy their efforts, but it does appear to be a fairly innovative approach. And the thing that excites me the most about altcoins that are privacy centric is that they are a hotbed for innovation. For better or worse, the people that are working on this innovation are able to use the coins as a kind of IPO for their efforts. Speculators will buy up and ramp up the price of these coins, and that gives the developers money to pay for their time and to work on these innovations. So at this point, there are quite a few different approaches to doing cryptocurrency privacy, and I would say at least a half dozen unique ones at this point. And I think that's a very, very positive thing. And Xcurrency is taking their own multi-path based protocol approach to doing this anonymity. So that's all I have to say about Xcurrency for today. Now, the last news story that I wanted to squeeze in here before we wrap up with any questions that people may have, wanted to talk about Coin Shuffle, which is a new protocol for Bitcoin privacy that was been proposed on the Bitcoin development mailing list by some researchers in somewhere in Europe, I guess. Tim Ruffing, Pedro Moreno Sanchez, and Aniket Kate. And what they're doing is they're trying to build off of the CoinJoin protocol, where coins are mixed in a peer-to-peer decentralized fashion. There are no fees associated with this mixing process, and it's all done on the Bitcoin blockchain. And it seems that they're a major contribution with Coin Shuffle. So they take CoinJoin, and they're trying to add a kind of blinding mechanism to this mixing. By blending, I mean that in standard CoinJoin, if you're not going to do anything extra, what you're going to do is you're going to announce to someone, whether it's your mixing partners or whether it's a server that's all kind of orchestrating the transaction for you, you're going to tell someone, hey, look, here's my input address, here's my output address. And so someone other than you is going to know the mapping between the two. And that's basically they're having control over your privacy at that point. So what Coin Shuffle hopes to do is provide a blinding mechanism so that only you should actually know that mapping between the two. And I'll try to give you a very basic, intuitive understanding of how they're doing this. So this is from the paper that they just pushed out, a little diagram here. And so in the first step, we have 3 hypothetical participants that are going to engage in this coin shuffle operation: Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And let's say that they are all trying to mix exactly 1 Bitcoin. And this seems to be one of the restrictions for Coin Shuffle, is that the participants that are shuffling their coins together, so to speak, they all need to have equally sized inputs. That's a pretty significant restriction on how this works. Certainly the majority of Bitcoin addresses out there do not have exactly the same amount within them, because we're always getting, we're always making payments and getting change. And of course, as we all know, a Bitcoin is divisible down to 8 decimal places, so it's not just all about sending 1 Bitcoin around. There certainly are some different strategies that you can use to try and make the amounts more uniform. This is something that the Darkcoin team is working on right now, trying to give a series of standard denominations of Darkcoin so that everyone is sort of mixing together the same amounts. But so let's say these 3 people, Alice, Bob, and Charlie, are mixing together 1 Bitcoin each. What they'll do is they'll announce this to each other, and they're doing this together. They don't necessarily need a server to help them out with this. It's just the 3 of them. There's no other third party involved here. And then in the second stage, they're going to shuffle the output addresses. In other words, where those 1 Bitcoins are going to go at the end of this. And each of the output addresses is going to be a new address that Bob, Alice, and Charlie generate for themselves. So they'll tell each other, okay, these are, here's all of our lists of addresses, and they're going to shuffle it around, and they'll each taking turns shuffling it. So it's kind of like if you were playing cards with someone, each of you takes a turn to shuffle the deck to reassure yourself that the other people are not doing a bad job of shuffling and trying to stack the deck somehow. So, and this works essentially because they're all mixing together exactly the same amount. So it doesn't matter which specific address the outputs go to. They can go to any one of them, and none of them will be cheated, because it's 1 Bitcoin out, one Bitcoin in, 1 Bitcoin out. And then there's some more details here that I won't jump into, but basically they have another couple of phases where they say, okay, did everyone sign off on this transaction? Does it look good? Is anyone holding back on their transactions? Are they trying to delay or denial of service attack this transaction? If anyone has failed to give their signature to the transaction, there's a blame phase where they figure out who is the problematic party, they drop him out, and they start over again without that guy. So so I think it's an interesting mechanism for trying to blind these transactions, which is very important in terms of privacy. You really want to make it so that you are the only person that knows exactly where the coins are coming from and going to. That's the whole point of privacy. And when you're not doing that with CoinJoin, then this simply means that other people can try to jump in and de-anonymize your transaction. They can try to hack the servers if there's some kind of server that's helping to orchestrate all the CoinJoin participants. And so it's an interesting mechanism. There's been some criticism on the Bitcoin development list saying like, okay, well, this is nice. I don't know if you had to write an entire paper and give it a new name just to talk about this particular blending mechanism, but yeah, I have no problem with them formalizing it in a paper. I think that this is cool work, and I appreciate that they're trying to improve the CoinJoin protocol. CoinJoin really is our best hope from at improving Bitcoin privacy right now, along with stealth addresses. Stealth addresses and CoinJoin are two things that work right now that can be implemented into Bitcoin wallets, and something that can happen right today, rather than trying to focus on things that may possibly happen in the future. And I think that's quite practical and good. So let's just finish up by answering your questions. Just wanted to remind you that if at any point you want to send in questions during the week, you can use the Twitter hashtag darknews, or send a tweet to @darknewsshow on Twitter. And we have one question here about asking, how is this coin shuffle or this CoinJoin stuff different from Dark Wallet? And that's a good question. So Dark Wallet, just to remind those who are not familiar with it or have forgotten about it, is a privacy-centric Bitcoin wallet. It's not an altcoin. It has no association whatsoever with Darkcoin, other than that the technologies are kind of similar or related through this CoinJoin mechanism. Dark Wallet, their focus is on providing a solid, user-intuitive, stable, easy-to-use wallet that allows users to have multi-signature Bitcoin addresses or accounts that gives them better privacy through a CoinJoin mechanism where Dark Wallet users are able to mix with each other, and also CoinJoin. Now, the last time that I looked at Dark Wallet, they were focused on CoinJoin from the perspective of, I guess, two technical elements. One is that each CoinJoin would involve exactly 2 participants. Some might say that having such a low number makes it kind of susceptible to so-called civil attacks, where if you're always mixing with someone that's trying to be malicious, that's trying to track payments, and they're the only other one to CoinJoin with, then you're not really getting any extra privacy out of that, because they can always betray you, and they know all of the information about the transaction because they know their own input and output addresses, and the only other unknown by process of elimination is where your coins are coming from and going to. So they can always betray you in that situation. So I'm curious to see some more technical analysis of that approach to CoinJoin. The other thing that they're focusing on is they're using an underlying wallet architecture called libBitcoin, which is kind of the brainchild of Amir Taki and Pablo, I forget his last name, but another guy that lives in Spain who's done a lot of work on libBitcoin. There's also various other developers that have contributed to it, but it's kind of an SPV lightweight kind of Bitcoin client or client code, and Dark Wallet is based on this. And instead of requiring everyone to download the blockchain, what they do is they have these so-called obelisk servers that keep their own copy of the blockchain. and will kind of verify things for you so that you don't have to download the whole huge blockchain and keep up to date with it and so forth. They keep that copy for you. So you have to put a little bit of trust into these Obelisk servers. And it seems that the Obelisk servers are also being coded to help orchestrate these coin join operations, to help people find each other, dark wallet users, and say, hey, I'm a dark wallet user, you're a dark wallet user, let's mix our coins together now. And so that would be different from CoinShuffle in that there is some server that dark wallet relies on for orchestrating these coin joins, whereas CoinShuffle would not necessarily require that. It seems that you can do this with just your peers and you don't need any extra server. So I definitely would like to look into some more about exactly how the dark wallet coin join is working. The devil really is in the details. I like to say that in general these things are based on coin join. It's not really helpful to say that they're all just coin join, because there's lots of different ways, little variables, ways that you can tweak coin join that make a big difference in terms of how much privacy they're actually being afforded, how practical it is, and so forth. So the details of this stuff are very important, and I would just sort of encourage people that to internalize that. Just if you hear coin join, don't assume that this means some kind of magic pixie dust of privacy. They need to prove in the research community that they've implemented it in just the right way. And so far, it sounds like Dark Wallet's doing a pretty good job, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some more details. I don't know if they've completely decided and ironed out 100% of the details, which is one of the reasons why I'm waiting to kind of dig into their code and exactly see how it works. I'd rather look at the more like the final version than their super alpha version that keeps changing. So yeah, that's kind of the difference between Dark Wallet and this CoinShuffle stuff. Of course, we don't know if CoinShuffle will ultimately be used at all, but I think it never hurts to have more contributions, new ideas about how this can be worked out. And whatever, one thing I appreciate is that they really have done a vigorous job to look at whether this particular approach is practical. They did some analysis of the efficiency of the algorithm from a network perspective and all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of rigor that you would like to see around these ideas, rather than people just kind of pitching pie in the sky kind of stuff when it comes to improving these privacy mechanisms. So I do believe that will be it for today for Dark News. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to tip to the show to make sure that we continue to do our episodes and have time to do all the research and editing and all that good stuff, feel free to send us some tips. You can find the tip addresses in the video description for each video, and of course at the beginning of this video you can also find the QR codes that I threw up on the screen. And so that will be it for this week. I will see you next week, and in the meantime, have a very dark week.